I have Jason Gao joining me from GeniusX to talk a little bit about the project and some really interesting updates from the Accelerator program itself. So, Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Pete.
So let's get a little bit of an introduction about you yourself. Like I've had you on many AMAs and other segments before, but I'd love to learn a little bit more about your background. So if anyone's listening in for the first time, they can know a little bit more about you.
Sure. Yeah, happy to talk about it. So personal background, I think pretty simple. So before joining the crypto industry, I think personally and professionally, I think about 3 years ago, I've been in the investment industry for almost my entire career. So for the last 14 years, I've been doing venture capital investments, private equity investments in different industries, different markets. So I worked in both the States, in Asia, and now in Europe, in Switzerland, and investing in different sectors, starting from the traditional ones like industrials, logistics. And in 2014-15, when we started seeing the tech booming, I moved into different funds, investing in different technologies like the AI, autonomous driving, ride sharings, and that kind of stuff. Plant-based food, plant-based meat, if you recall, that used to be a hot topic a few years back. So I think I'm interested in technology, interested in early stage startups, and Verifine is very exciting to work with founders and entrepreneurs to help their business, but before always from an investor's perspective. So I think in my exploration journey of new technologies, I found crypto 3-4 years back, and a similar story as a lot of other people. Like you start getting interested, hearing it from friends, and then making the decision of actually getting in and do something yourself, and open your first centralized exchange account and have your first crypto wallet, and make the first investment, purchase the first NFTs, and get into the first DeFi yield farming stuff. So made some money, lost some money, and so similar stories. But I think from that process is really good learning. You really understand every components in details within the industry, because I think we have to admit the entry barrier for this industry is pretty high. So it's not very easy for average person to figure out just within a couple of days. You have to really spend time, interacting with the different protocols, applications yourself to really know what this really means. So I think I got really convinced with this technology. I have belief in blockchain, in decentralization. And then a year ago, I made my decision of professionally joining this industry. And GeniusX is where I started, because it gives me the opportunity to continue to work with founders of early stage startups, entrepreneurs, interesting teams who have ambitious goals of building some good products by utilizing blockchain technology. So that's what I have been enjoying for many years as a venture capital investor. I hope to do the same in this industry. And I think with GeniusX, I have even more opportunity of working with a lot of teams and founders, and to really advise them, help them to grow and fund their business and launch their tokens and etc. So that's about my background, and my role with GeniusX is just one of the Accelerator Program managers. I also cover investor relations and maintain our investor relationships with the other investors who might be the source of funding for our startups.
That's a very cool background and a very hard space to work in, I think. Investor relations essentially, and working with all these startups is very, very fast paced and very, I think, energizing and inspirational as well. Being able to work with all these companies.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, for those all those people that are jumping into the Cardano space, they have the ability to see what GeniusX is doing and all the projects that they're starting up or helping start up and take through the early stages of development and funding and everything else they need to start growing in the Cardano ecosystem. But there's some interesting developments there. Can you talk a little bit about the general overview of what GeniusX does for various startups in various ecosystems?
So I think at the very beginning, GeniusX is launched as just as a general venture accelerator focused on Web3 industries, crypto startups. And as a lot of people know, we were born in Cardano, and that was our only focus at the very beginning, because I think especially in the bull market, there were enough number of startups and teams like that we are capable or we have the capacity of supporting. And so I think at the very beginning, we didn't think too much. It's just because our team also launched Genius Yield, our sister project. It's a DeFi protocol on Cardano. So we are entrepreneurs ourselves in the first place. So we realized all these challenges and difficulties that we had been through as the team during the entrepreneurship journey. And we know what exactly is important for founders and developers and teams who want to build something and successfully on blockchain and launch their tokenize the business model. So we started at the beginning with that thoughts, but over the course of now, I think a year and a half, we have been refining the business model for GeniusX to try to find a way how to make it more of a fit to the founders on the one side, and also how to actually build a more community-oriented accelerators and plus Launchpad, because we have been following the other accelerators in the market, in the industry, not just within Cardano, but just the general crypto industry. And we have realized a number of problems that they're having. So we're trying to explore how we can solve that problem by developing a more innovative model for GeniusX. So I think up until today, what we have figured out as a business model for GeniusX, I can comment from two perspectives. One is towards the founders or the projects that we're working with, and the other is what that means for our community, because we're also launching our tokens. I think we're industry's first and only tokenized accelerator, which is a very interesting concept, and what that means for people who want to join our ecosystem just as an average person or as a lover in the venture space, but not as a venture building themselves. So for projects or for the founders, we realized the pain points they're having in during the journey of the venture building is obviously there's a lot of parts. It could be difficult for like young founders or not super experienced founders to figure out like how to design your tokenomics and how to run the marketing effectively, how to tap into the influencers and marketing channels to promote your product and then build your community, and even like how to really set up an effective legal entity and considering the regulatory compliance issues of launching the tokens and everything. And obviously, a lot of accelerators has been trying to do this, but we realized a problem they all have, almost all of them have, is that typical accelerator is on a cohort basis, which means they have seasonal admission of projects. For instance, like you can apply to our next cohort, between May and July, and then we're gonna take we're gonna spend another 2 months screening, and then we're gonna announce winners. And then it's always gonna be based on a fixed term program, which is called a cohort. So within this cohort, you would expect to join a program for 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 3 months, meeting with a lot of founders and joining a lot of workshops. And it's always on a group basis. And it will be ended with a demo day. Basically, the accelerator will invite a bunch of investors and to listen to the pitches of startups. But the number could be even more than investors. So we don't feel that's very customized, personalized. It's more like a tour of experience of learning something. It's like a class. But we think what founders or projects builders really need is someone who actually try to solve your specific problem. And everybody has different problems. So we've been, for instance, working with, I think, 15 startups projects within GeniusX Accelerator. Every projects are different. So every team has different background, and they know they're good at and they're not good at completely different things. So you have to really adjust your offering as an accelerator to what they need. So we have very young and experienced first-time founders. They don't even know how to set up a legal entity, and they really need your help to help choose jurisdiction, put them in touch with the lawyers, and advise them on taxes and on token regulations and everything. But on the other hand, we also have a very experienced founders. They're seasoned professionals where they build successful software companies. whether in Web 2 or even in Web 3 space before. So they know, how to make product market fit, and they know how to, develop corporate clients, and they know how to, how to even raise money, and they have their own network of investors. But maybe they don't know how to actually market the product or the protocol towards a community-oriented audience base, which is the case for our crypto industry. So there is very community driven. There are many individuals, and people just get information and look into opportunities on Twitter. So you need to know how to actually do the marketing and run the advertisement for your business in this kind of space. So we are basically tailoring our offerings towards every project. So during the process of our due diligence or initial discussion with every project, even before we onboard them, we try to understand who are they, what they're doing, what exactly are their problems. And then we always develop a customized offering packages for them. It doesn't have to be everything that we can do. It could be everything for inexperienced founders who wants the whole package. It could be just a few things that is really important for them, but for the rest that they can figure out for themselves. So it's very flexible, very customized. And I think another thing is our engagement is typically long term, and we don't have the season-based admissions. We're always open. We're always looking forward to work with founders. And once we're engaged, usually it's long-term. And we don't try to set a deadline like 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever, because we believe there are a number of things that we need to do for everyone, but they have to be done at the right moment. Think about a journey of building a business. And so you have the product development phase, and then you have the refinement of product market fit, and then you have the pre-launch marketing, you have post-launch marketing, you have token launch. So everything probably will last quite a few months and even like years. So we have to make sure we do the right thing for everybody at the right time, and that's why we don't set up deadlines for them. And obviously, it doesn't mean that we're always working every day for all the projects, because we agree with them on when to do what. So so that's why we have uptime, we have downtime for every project, and that's how we can manage our resources and to allocate dynamically to constantly work with everyone. So I think that's the key differentiator we have figured out as an accelerator to be more valuable. So that's, I think, on the project side. But on the community side, as I just mentioned, we have been trying to explore with a tokenized accelerator, which I don't see with any other accelerators in the world at the moment, because usually accelerators are owned by either VCs, investors, or corporates to serve their specific needs and fulfill their specific goals. VC investors set up accelerator because they want to get access to early stage investment opportunities, from the very beginning. Corporate sponsor accelerators because they want to basically get founders, capable founders, to develop something for their use at the end of the day. But I think we're different. We want to promote a community oriented approach for our accelerator, because we believe there is a potential demand within retail investors, within communities, to get access to or get involved in the venture building industry. And because I think so far, if you think about as a retail investor, what's your opportunity of participating in Web3? Maybe just interacting with the DeFi protocol or buying tokens on the secondary market and hoping they're going to go up in terms of price. But I think venture building is very interesting. You get involved in a project in the early stage, and you see how they grow, and you can somehow influence on how they grow. And then also you get access to the investment opportunity from early stage. And instead of letting the VCs taking care of all of that and then just make yourself their access to liquidity. I think retail investor over time realized this problem, and so people are calling for a more decentralized approach for venture building or project building within Web3. So through launching the GeniusX token, which we can talk in more details later, we're trying to design a mechanism to allow our community to somehow get more involved into the venture building stage of GeniusX. Could be in the form of like certain DAO implementation, governance mechanism, but also importantly, to share the value that is generated by the accelerator to the community. Because the value of an accelerator is driven by the future value of all the startups in their ecosystem that they have worked with, they have invested in. And so it will be a growing portfolio, let's say, over time, like a venture portfolio of many startup projects with tokens. And we would like to share a portion of the value eventually from this portfolio to our community through the tokenized model. So I think through this way, we try to promote involvement by community into the venture building industry, and then taking benefit from that for what they contribute to this ecosystem.
It's a very tailored program for all of the participants in there. I absolutely love that. I have seen seen how other startups have gone through cohorts and those seasonal intakes that you mentioned. And once they're over, that's pretty much it. They don't get much more support from the accelerator. So I love this tailored approach and this community aspect of owning part of the accelerator, being part of the venture capital itself. That's very unique. I haven't heard anyone else do that. So absolutely love that approach. And we'll go into a little bit more about that with the token sale as well. But what are some like highlight projects that have come on board? You said 15 projects at the moment. Are there any that you can name that would stand out or are known, pretty well known in the community?
Yeah, sure. So I think our current projects are mainly in Cardano because that's where we started, and that's our base. We want to keep our base camp there as well because I think the team has unfair advantage to compete within the Cardano ecosystem. There's naturally more resources that we can bring for Cardano startups due to the team's background. I think everybody knows about it. So I think before I answer the question directly, I can also mention, I think these days, I think starting from like maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and it's going to keep going until like July, we're actually bringing a series of Genius Examined sessions, and which will be announced like, every time on our Twitter account, basically to showcase not every single, but I think most of the startup projects that are in our program or our ecosystem we've been working with to let them talk about their projects and most importantly the recent update and what's the future plan, and to let our community know what kind of projects we're working with. And so I would highly suggest for everybody to join those sessions to hear directly from the founders and team members from the projects, and then get a sense on what kind of projects we're working with. But I can quickly commend a few. So I think we have several well-known Cardano projects like Maestro. So they're one of the leading players of Cardano technology infrastructure, and their flagship product is the ISPO infrastructure pool. I think everybody kind of knows about, and they start. I think they're one of the projects joining our program, like maybe I think at some point last year, and we've been closely working with the team, and we even set a partnership with them on different levels of using them as a partnered ISPO service provider for other projects we could refer to, and they have been quite well, and they've been revenue generating and remaining with a very strong position in the market. And they raised, I think, more than $1 million of money from VCs and investors, including Emergo Ventures, who recently announced that their latest investment in Maestro. So we're very happy for them. And we have other projects like Fluid Tokens. I think they're also one of the leading players on real tokenization of different type of assets into NFTs, and also create a liquidity. Unlock the liquidity on top of this NFTs. So I think their flagship product is obviously the NFT-based lending protocols. So you can actually, basically pledge your NFTs and to borrow loans, and for which you can unlock the liquidity for the NFT you used to have to just own and keep in your wallet and without too much you can do. And so it's a very interesting project, and they're also revenue generating and growing their business scale. And although we're in the middle of the bear market, so the NFT sector is also not super hyped at the moment. But I think they've been doing the right thing of creating their market position within Cardano. And so when the next bull runs comes, and I think they will be very interesting growth projects. And we also have some projects who are exploring like multi-chain strategies, because I think eventually some developer realize that blockchain is it's really a technology, so it just has to be a fit to the application you're developing, but it's not necessarily a country or a market you have to be within without going out. For instance, we have HSMC, the gaming project, who developed this first-person shooters game called Outlaws Bros. And so they have the game launching on Cardano at the very beginning, but they're also trying to promote the idea of allowing community from different blockchain ecosystem to interact with each other, to eventually even being able to play against each other or together with each other. So they're exploring other communities like Polygon, and they're also launching a mobile version of the game with the goal of potentially bring the Web2 mobile players into Web3, into Cardano, and into whatever networks they're building. And so they have a very strong achievement actually on the Web2 adoption phase, because their mobile games, I think within a couple of weeks of launch, they got 10,000 downloads. Like, it's a very fast growth. Wow. And people coming in. Very cool. And so we're discussing with them to see how, to develop a way to convert them actually into potential Cardano community, I think in the ideal case. But I think to create a seamless adoption experience for them, because ideally you can get them into crypto without even themselves realizing that, but they just like the game. And
that's super exciting to hear.
Exactly. So, and we have DropSpot. I think they're like a new emerging NFT marketplace, and also a launch pad for artists to create their digital art in the form of NFTs. And I think the team has been very deep-hearted, within the Cardano community. So they realize the problems within the Cardano NFT ecosystems, and that they listened to the community. They had a lot of discussion with the different parties, and we tried to introduce different NFT CNFT projects to them, and to have discussion. So I think the result of all of that is the recent launch of the Supercubes program, which basically promote a zero trading commission product for a secondary market, by partnering with the CNFT project owners, who will also benefit from this, because it's kind of an effective way to promote their projects to the communities. And also they're very supportive to artists on a global scale. They have been launching, I think, more than 60. I think the number is even higher today. To have a chance to have a channel to create to basically introduce their art to the Cardano community through a CNFT. And so I think it's the most supportive artist supportive projects I have seen. And we have others. We have Smart Places doing this very interesting social vibe projects, and we have more we could talk about. There are some are more earlier stage, and maybe they're not ready to to really massively talk about their products, more in stealth mode. And we're also in the process of onboarding a few more startups that are not really from Cardano, just to be aligned with our recent ambition of growing blockchain agnostic and try to promote the interaction of communities from different ecosystems. And so unfortunately, I don't really have anything to talk about here today, because we want to just have all this news ready to make announcement. But the team is really working. We're onboarding very interesting projects from and not from Cardano, and from other ecosystems like Arbitrum, like Polygons. So we're I think it's a very interesting timing right now, because I think the bear market has raised a lot of noise and making it very actually easier for our team to differentiate good projects, good teams from the ones who are only focused on short-term profit or tend to be like rug pull and make quick money. So
Yeah.
we're very confident of creating a long-term quality portfolio for the accelerator and potentially for the launchpad as well.
That's quite a positive coming out from the bear market, shaking out all the bad projects and being able to find the good ones to take through the Accelerator program. And I think I've pretty much maybe have interviewed every single project that went through that is currently in the Accelerator. I don't know about the new ones, but if anyone wants to check it out, they can see the playlist in the top right-hand corner, and they'll be able to see all the projects that have gone through or started going through the GeniusX Accelerator. Now, you also mentioned Polygon and Arbitrum there, and these are pretty big milestones and recent events that happened with GeniusX as you started expanding and going cross-chain. Can we talk a little bit about the roadmap, the plans, and why the idea and why the reasoning of going to Polygon and Arbitrum, and where to next after that?
I think the original thinking behind going out of Cardano is basically we realized that GeniusX is not just a project we're building, it's an accelerator. So I think I'm taking my personal experience even before joining the crypto industry as a venture investor before. What is critical if you want to run an accelerator is that you need to follow the founders, the best founders and the most interesting teams, and where they're going, where they're building, because eventually you want to have the opportunity to work with the best founders and to build, the highest quality portfolios for your accelerator, which will then benefit all the stakeholders behind the accelerator. And in our case, it will be our community, which I just talk about with the tokenized business model. So I think for many founders, and I think some of them are loyal to certain ecosystems, certain blockchains, but I think many of them have to be practical. They realize that blockchain is a tool for them to build their product. And the different blockchains has different technologies, and some are good, some are like maybe, I wouldn't say some are good, some are bad, but I would say like some are good, some are more of a fit to this type of application, some are a fit to that type of applications. So the smart founders will choose where to build. And I think, and some of them will go here, some of them will go there, and some of them will go cross-chain. I give you one example. Genius Yield, our sister project, why we decided to build on Cardano. Actually, the founders team looked at many different blockchains before making the decision on Cardano. And the reason to make that decision is because it's really the founders team's goal to have the most innovative DEX, which solves all this problem that Uniswap and the others have, like impermanent loss, automatic market making, simple trading options, and limited liquidity level of liquidity. And then they realize the solution or the answer to this problem is actually the extended UTXO ledger model, which only Cardano has. So that would allow for you to build 100% on-chain order book-based DEX, which solves all this problem that automatic market making model-based DEX will have. So that's a perfect example of how you choose blockchain as a technology to achieve your goal. And I think with that in mind, we just have to follow the market. We have to follow the founders, because eventually our goal is to create as much as possible value for the accelerator and for the launchpad as well, by working with the best projects and launching the tokens for the best projects, which will benefit our community at the end of the day as well. So we looked into a lot of ecosystems. Obviously, we're born from Cardano. We always remain here. We know we have a strong position within the Cardano ecosystem. We're not going to stop here, because I think if you think about back in 2021, there are more launchpad doing Cardano token launches. There are more people who are trying to accelerate in Cardano, but look at now, like I think we're the only party still alive and still working, building on Cardano.
Very, very
so
true.
I think that's important, and we're going to remain here. We want to be the number one, or the go-to accelerator and launchpad in Cardano. And maybe it's not the best time to do a lot of things aggressively at the moment, but we want to be here. We want to keep our brand name. We want to help founders, builders within Cardano. And we believe we're pretty well covered. And when the next bull run comes in, and there will be a lot of opportunities in Cardano for us, I'm pretty sure about that, especially on the DeFi side, because I think we've already started seeing the trend. But I think in the meantime, we also just don't want to stop and being stagnant just simply because it's a bear market and you should just lie down. And we should keep working. We need to capture new growth opportunities for the accelerator and for our stakeholders and communities at the end of the day. And even in the bear market, the community vibes move across different ecosystem and different topics. We have observed that. We've been following the market for like a year, and we've seen where, interesting founders and builders and projects are moving or going for whatever reason. And we have conducted a very comprehensive research and review on all the layer ones, layer twos, everything, a few months ago. So, and then we have determined that we should actually make step out of Cardano to try to work with interesting projects that are building not only within Cardano. And the reason that we chose Arbitrum and Polygon as the first step to move forward is obviously, I think, their popularity in the recent market. Because again, as I mentioned, we have to follow the market. We have to follow, quality project and founders where they're going. So these are the ecosystem for whatever reason. We see really good developers and good builders are sticking to for the moment. In the next few months and next years, and I believe it will change, and things are always changing. So we're following the market. And our team actually had discussions with, I think, 7-8 different ecosystems outside of Cardano. So including Arbitrum, Polygon, and also there are like this zero knowledge proof-based rollups for Ethereum layer 2s and new layer 1. We've talked to so many of them to see what's the quality of the ecosystem. Is the foundation behind really supportive? Are they welcoming an accelerator like us to come and join to help their ecosystem the same way as we are supporting Cardano ecosystem? And do they really have good developers and projects building there in the long term? So we spend months doing due diligence and then draw that conclusion. And I think also that's behind the fact that we had a very good relationship now built with Arbitrum Foundation and with the Polygon Labs. And we have partnerships at certain level with both of them. And that's how we finally made the decision of making an official move there. For instance, with the Polygon, I'm not sure if you know, they're really promoting this new Polygon ZK EVM ecosystem. It's like a new one after the Polygon POS chain. And so they're actually trying to build a developer ecosystem to really seriously track different projects that are seriously building within the ecosystem and providing them with different support as a foundation or as an ecosystem stakeholder for them. And within that process, they hope to involve different service providers or value contributors like accelerators, investors, law firms, whatever, to help these projects. So we're in discussion with them of how we can play a role in there. And obviously, we got a very welcoming feedback from the Polygon. So, and that's why we see that, these people are really, trying to do something to promote, ecosystem growth, venture building. Because I think, again, I mentioned venture building many times. That's our vision. We hope to work with the ecosystem that has a very strong focus on promoting venture building and supporting for venture building. And example with Arbitrum is that I think is very similar. They're very happy to have accelerator like GeniusX to come to support for their venture ecosystem for the growth of the project network within Arbitrum. And also we're talking about some collaboration on the Launchpad perspective, because they expect more projects building on, let's say, the Arbitrum Nova new network they have recently launched. And they hope to find a way for them to better access the community, both for fundraising or for marketing perspective. And that's how Launchpad plays a significant role in there. But there's a very limited options available in that ecosystem for the moment. So we are actually launching an EVM version of the GeniusX Launchpad towards the end of this month. and Arbitrum Polygon would be one of the first networks we'll be integrate basically to align ourselves with the goal of the ecosystem stakeholders in terms of how to grow their ecosystem. So, but I think ultimate goal for us is that we want to capture the growth opportunity in the recently popular ecosystems, and to generate the value for GeniusX and direct this value ultimately to our communities, meaning holders and stakers of the GeniusX token at the end of the day. And because I think bear market has opportunity, you can't just stop building bear market. You have to really figure out how to do the right thing in the bear market and prepare for the next bull run.
Super exciting developments there for GeniusX, and I'm really happy that you guys are expanding to Polygon and Arbitrum. The communities and ecosystems are definitely buzzing at the moment, so definitely good choices there. So let's go into and dive into the GenX token launch and the sale that's coming up as well, the public sale itself. I'm sure people listening in on this podcast are quite interested in the ecosystem and everything that you're building around it. And this is, a possibility of being a part of it as well. So what are the details around this? When is the token sale, and what specifications are around it?
Yeah, sure. I think the short answer is that the IDO will start on Thursday next week, so the 29th of June. And I would suggest anyone who are interested in this information to follow our Twitter and join our Discord and Telegram channels, because we have very detailed announcement of everything, timing of that. But I think high level, it starts on the 29th of June. And we're going to host it on basically I would say 4 different platforms or 4 different launchpads. So we have 2 GeniusX launchpad. So the reason I mentioned 2 is that because we deployed an EVM version of the launchpad as well. So we have decided to also allocate a portion of the IDO to our EVM launchpad, which is Arbitrum supporting at the moment. But obviously, the other part that we're reserving is for our existing Cardano launchpad, for the Cardano community to participate. And I think the reason to split this into Cardano and Arbitrum, the 2 sides of our own launchpad, is because we want to show to the community that we can deliver product that we promised. We talk about, multi-chain, expansion. We talk about blockchain agnostic, and Accelerator is going there as well. But Launchpad, we need to show to the community that we can launch a Launchpad that supports Arbitrum, Polygon, and other ecosystem we want to integrate into. So this will be live at the end of June to support our own IDO. We use ourselves to as the first trial for this launchpad, because I think it's a simple rule that we're following, that if you're a chef, you can't just taste the food that you make before selling or showing to your customers. So we're doing this with ourselves.
Yeah,
right.
It's a nice analogy.
But besides that, we also partnered with 2 very established private launchpads, and we actually had discussion with many in-launchpads out there. There are many independent ones, but finally we selected to work with the Red Kite launchpad and the RBPad. So Red Kite is they're actually one of the 2 launchpads backed by Ice-T Labs, which is the largest Web3 venture accelerators based in Southeast Asia. So they have a very strong community in Southeast Asia, and also like India and even Middle East. And they have launched many successful projects since 2021, and it's a very established one. And the reason we work with them is because obviously they're a large new community we could potentially tap into, and also for acquisition of a potential new community for GeniusX in that part of the world. Because as you know, the GeniusX team, the company is based in Switzerland, and our team are primarily located in Europe and the US as well. We have a very strong coverage ourselves in the general European market and American market, also North and South American market. But Asia, it's a relatively under-penetrated market for us. So we realized there is a very strong community there. And also with the recent trends of the US regulations are being very unfriendly towards crypto, but I think Hong Kong, like, Japan and many Asian countries are being very open, friendly to the industry. We think it makes sense for us to try to acquire new communities in that part of the world. So that's the reason to work with Redkite. Another launchpad is called Arbipad. So they're a relatively new launchpad, but they're backed by a very famous team of good game guilds. It's a blockchain gaming platform project that has been very popular since 2021. And so they're also from Asia, but the coverage is slightly different. So they're very strong coverage in China, in Japan, and like East Asian markets. Also, I think some Southeast Asian countries as well. So the team is very well known. Their projects are backed by tier one VCs in the world like Animoca Brands, OKX Ventures, since years ago, and they launched Arbipad as a solution to really focus on Arbitrum projects tokens launch. And then they also have a goal to expand into potentially ZK Sync and other the new layer 2 ecosystem, which is kind of aligned with our potential future expansion thinking. Although that we have to observe, because I think many of this ecosystem are too young to move into, but I think they're a good fit in terms of how they look at different ecosystems, the strategy, and obviously the team is very strong, very good, very well known, and so that's how we work with them. And so we will have, I think the current goal is that we're going to have about $200K dollar worth of allocation for both, for each of the Redkite and Arbipad, and then we'll have about 350K for community sale, meaning that it's going to run by GeniusX, our own launchpad, half on our Cardano launchpad and half on Arbitrum. So that's what we have announced, but I think I would just leave a caveat because I think the final numbers could, vary or have small changes, even, short term before the IDO starts. But I think that's how we are targeting, and that's how we're addressing. So all the Launchpad platform will start on the 29th of June at different point of times, but within the same day. And I think some of them will finish within like the same day, but I think the others will actually run for a longer time. But I think everyone will finish with by the end of the 1st of June, so not more than 48 hours. And so again, I think for all the details, I might be wrong on some very detailed numbers. So still encourage everybody to check our announcement and everything. I think on this point, I just want to quickly have another comment to address, because we heard some communities, questions about like, how did we decide this kind of allocations? And so on an overall basis, most of the allocation will be on Arbitrum network, and small portion will be on Cardano. And does that mean that we want to give more opportunity to the Arbitrum community compared to the Cardano? I think the answer or the consideration behind that is we have realized that we already have a very strong Cardano community, and we have a lot of people participated in our ISPO, which we're very grateful to. And if you look at the tokenomics, actually a big majority of the tokens will, at the end of the day, be at the hand of our Cardano community. And even you consider the entire ideal allocation, it's still a relatively small portion will be on the Arbitrum bridge to the Arbitrum network. But I think we want to do that in the ideal stages because, that's a way for us to really get access to the Arbitrum community, to have an opportunity to interact with them, to communicate about our project to them, and for the new acquisitions of the community. So that's the consideration behind.
Now, probably my last question here before we wrap up this interview. What are the future plans for the GeniusX in general? So we've got Arbitrum, Polygon, various protocols and other chains that are coming up. What's the rest of this year going to look like after the sale?
Yeah. So I don't think we'll try to grow super aggressively in terms of entering into new ecosystems, because I think, again, as I mentioned, the core value of an accelerator and a launchpad is really the quality of the projects that you're working, because that ultimately translates into the revenues or the profit or the value that you generate as a business or as a project. And again, I think based on our token utility and tokenomics, 20% of all the revenues and values and everything generated by GeniusX will go to the token holders and stakers. So that's the single most important thing that the team that runs this business has to be focused on. So I think the immediate next step goal for us is to really onboard more interesting projects to GeniusX, and to make sure that we have a good pipeline for the future launch of tokens and everything. And obviously, I think there are many ways and strategies for us to achieve that. And that includes building up our brand names and awareness to attract the good founders to come over to us. That includes, working directly with let's say Arbitrum Foundation, Polygon Labs, and to get access to high quality projects, and which we have been doing. And the third is like by partnering with more established independent launchpads like Red Kite, like Arbipad. I think one of the reasons we work with them for our own ideas also to set up a long-term potential partnership with all of them for projects co-launching in the future, because they get access to sources of interesting founders, especially maybe in the regions that we don't have a strong coverage as our own team, as you just explained before. So we've seen strong synergies working with all these different partners, stakeholders, and to actually build a strong pipeline for GeniusX, and which will translate into the value of the business and the token price drivers at the end of the day. So I think for the rest of this year, and we would target to grow our project ecosystem scale. And but maybe not in terms of like making big move into new ecosystems, unless that there's something big happens and there's a new ecosystem has an explosion and a lot of interesting projects are rushing into there. I think then we have to look into that. Yeah. But we don't have like a super big team. We have a very lean team, very efficient team, and we just have to be very dynamic and really focus on the most important things within the business.
Okay, very cool. Really good future for GeniusX, and I'm looking forward to the token sale. I'll make sure all the links, references, and any of the updated information is in the show notes for this as well. So hopefully that anyone watching or listening, please read the show notes and follow those links so you can get the most up-to-date information about everything GeniusX is doing and the upcoming token sale. But Jason, thank you so much for joining me on this episode and telling me and teaching me so much more about GeniusX.
Thank you very much. Thank you for hosting. It's a pleasure to join you, Pete.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really it ain't.